What's up, everyone? All I ever get to do anymore is sit on my motorcycle. If you follow along, you know what the deal is with that is. It's the weekend before my major surgery. To find out what has led me up to this point in my life, you're going to have to hang around and check it out. So, boom! Welcome aboard, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Like I said, this is the weekend before my major surgery. It is a major surgery. Those of you who've been following along know the deal. It's not a toenail remover. It's not removing a cyst or anything like that. It is a lungotomy. They're going to remove my left lung. Okay? So the benefit of those who have not been following along, and if you have been following along, this is kind of neat to get it all in one nutshell kind of thingamajig of what has happened over the last 3 months, almost 4 months. So I'm going to break it down for y'all. Back in April, mid-April, I'm a truck driver. For those of you that don't know it, I was up in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, the evening of the, I can't remember what date, but that evening, back in mid-April, I had gotten my meal for the evening, was walking out of the truck stop to my truck, and started coughing. Coughed up some blood. I went, okay, well that's not good. The rest of that evening, what I did was, I coughed up some more, not a lot, here and there, so I called the ER in my hometown. I advised the trauma nurse what was going on, described everything, and she advised me to get to an ER now. Well, I'm a dumbass, okay? Number one, I thought, well, this seems like something that will put me in the hospital. I'm 500, 600 miles away from home. I ain't going in the hospital that far away from home. By 9ish that evening, it stopped. I went to sleep. Next morning, I'm supposed to go into Fort Smith, Arkansas, pick up a load that's going to Fort Worth, Arkansas, or Texas. Called my dispatcher, told him what was going on, that when I get to Fort Worth, I'm likely going to need a load home. Alright? So I picked up my load and headed to Fort Worth that next morning. No longer coughing up blood. When I got to Fort Worth, I had to shut down and take my 10-hour break. Alright? That evening, started coughing blood up again. Only for a couple hours and then it stopped. Alright? So, when I got up the next morning, instead of getting a load home, I just told my dispatcher I'm going home. I don't need a trailer. I don't need to waste time dropping a load somewhere. I need to go home and I need to go to the hospital. So I went home to Central Texas. That day was the 12th. I got into the ER that day, the 12th. They done x-rays and then they done a CT scan because they saw something, a mass on the x-rays. They discovered about a 4 3/4 inch tumor on my left lung. It's probably showing right on camera, but it's on my left lung. Thus began all the fun. Alright? After that, I didn't cough up a lot of blood. A little blood here, a little blood there, nothing major, right? So that following week, I met with my oncologist. I got an oncologist and a surgeon. After reviewing stuff, the tentative plan was remove the lung. They were gonna, if they could save some of the lung, they were going to. But at this point, it looked like they had to remove the lung. Remove the lung, and then do some chemo. That was the tentative plan. So began a barrage of tests and blood work and all kinds of different things to get, to get things going, including a biopsy. Biopsy showed that it was a non-small cell tumor, which is most common lung cancer. So, plan was still headed that way. They're doing test after blood work, making sure that not only could I survive surgery, because it's a pretty major surgery, that I could survive after surgery. So while this is all going on, one of the stress tests came back that showed that I might have some cardiac blockage in my arteries somewhat, which is a concern because you don't want to go in to do lung surgery and then have me die of a heart attack while they're doing the lung surgery. So that has to be taken care of first now. So plans have changed. All right. Especially since it was going to take about 4 weeks before they're able to do the angioplasty thing, where they go in at your thigh, run wires and stuff up to your arteries, to your heart, and if there's blockage, they'll put stents in and stuff like that. It's going to be about 4 weeks before that could happen. So the plan was now to do radiation and chemotherapy while that 4 weeks was going on, because we just couldn't just let it sit and grow and grow and grow. So the 4 weeks, actually it'd be 6 weeks of chemo and radiation, while once they done, if they found that I needed stents, they would go that way, because not only that, I would have to go on blood thinners, and you cannot be operated on while you're on blood thinners, because if they put stents in, there's a chance of getting a clot. You don't want a clot. That causes a stroke, that causes a heart attack, anything like that. So you have to go on blood thinners for at least 4 weeks on average before you can go off the blood thinners, and then they could do their operation. All right. So I was lined up to do 6 weeks of Monday through Friday chemo and radiation, along with I got to the point where the 4 weeks later I went in. They done the ambiplasty thingamajiggy, or whatever you want to call it. I can't think of it. Ran the wires up through the artery in my thigh, and they did find blockage. All right, so they put in 2 stents. All right, so therefore I had to go on blood thinners. So surgery at this point is not an option. All right at this point. So I was going to be on the blood thinners for at least 4 weeks. So the radiation and the chemo was lined up to start. All right. We're going to start it, I think it was the 13th of June, I believe. Yeah. But then started my other problems. They believe it was the blood thinners itself. They put the stents in. That was a good success. And so when they put the stents in, I was reading my notes. That was June 17th. They put the stents in. Everything was going good. June 19th, I started coughing up blood, and it was more than usual, and it was bright red and everything else. So I ended up in the ER. At the time, I could breathe all right and everything, was having really no problem breathing, but I was coughing up a bunch of bright red blood, which concerned them. So they put me in the ICU on the 19th and intubated me and set a camera down into my lung that has the tumor to see what was going on, and they could see the vessels around the tumor were bleeding. Now what they could do, kind of like cauterize it, they sprayed lidocaine in there, or a needle, take a needle, stick it in there, and lidocaine, I'm not sure how they do it, but it stops it from bleeding, okay, almost like cauterizing it. So that's what they did, is they sprayed lidocaine into the tumor. It stopped the bleeding. All right. That was on June 19th. I was moved out of ICU on the 20th into a regular room, and then released on the 21st of June. On the 28th of June, the very next day after I was released, I started coughing blood again. A bunch of blood. A bunch. Went back to the ER. Was put back into the ICU. They intubated me again. Sprayed the lidocaine stuff in there again. And they realized it was going to take a little bit more to stop it. So they come up with the idea of radiation kills the cells. So let's give him a large dose of radiation right there on his tumor and see if that'll kill the cell enough where it won't bleed. So they gave me a large dose of radiation, and it stopped bleeding. Like I said, that was the 28th I was back in there. I think it was the 20, yeah, it was still the 28th when they gave me the dose of radiation. But they kept me in for a day or so to check things, and I was released on the 30th, not having a problem. Went almost 4 days this time. On July 5th, I started coughing up a lot of blood. A lot of blood. So bad that when I got to the ER, I could no longer breathe. I passed out. I stopped breathing on July 5th. I'm looking at my notes. They had to emergency intubate me. And then they went in with a camera again. Could see everything was bleeding pretty good. Trying to stop it from bleeding. So they put me into a coma. I was in a coma from Sunday until Wednesday morning. Sunday the 5th till Wednesday, I think it was the 8th, yeah. Wednesday the 8th. They went in there and done that Radicaine stuff again and everything, got it to stop bleeding, so they thought. The morning of Wednesday the 8th, they woke me up. Now let me tell you something. If you never woke up with tubes down your throat, it's a trip, okay? They strap you in your gurney by your wrist because they know when you wake up you're going to panic and try to pull the tubes out. But it's a trip, let me tell you, laying there with tubes in your mouth going down your throat. It is definitely a trip. And they had a feeding tube in there too. So they woke me up on Wednesday morning and decided to take out the air tubes. When they took out the air tubes, so, you know, once they realized I could breathe on my own, I was not breathing on my own, I was on a respirator, okay? But once they shut the respirator off and said, okay, well, he's breathing on his own, let's go ahead and take the air tubes out. So I'm sitting up, and I know I've said this in the last video, that's when they pulled the air tubes out, and here it went again. Started all over again. I actually had a couple minutes where I could talk in between there, but after that, here it come all again, and I passed out again, stopped breathing. They had to emergency intubate me again while I was sitting there in the ICU. They knocked me out for that, but they didn't leave me out for long. They went in with the camera again and realized there was a bunch of blood built up in there that was from the previous time. That was probably what I was coughing up, but they seen that it was going to try to start bleeding again. So they took a tube and they went in there and they got as much of that blood out as they could, that old blood that was in there, hoping that it wouldn't happen again. Meanwhile, a doctor come up with an idea. The same doctors that do the angioplasty thing, they asked them, and says, is there a possible way that you could cut off the blood supply to my lung, his lung, you know, my lung? And they said, well, they ain't never done it before. And in fact, it's never been done before, period. But they had never done it before, but they thought it was possible that they could cut the blood supply off to my lung. Doing an angioplasty, just like they put in stents. Only they ran over to the lung, and they have these things are like really tight springs, and when they release them, it's kind of like they explode and look like a beaver dam kind of thing, right? They actually put two of them in the main blood supply to my lung, is what they did, all right? And here's what it looks like. I'll show it to you. All them squiggly lines right there are what I'm talking about. You can see it in my lung right there. That's how they stopped the blood supply to my lung. Basically, turning off my lung. Saved my life. So, that evening, they took the breathing tubes out again. I was able to breathe on my own. I was no longer coughing up blood that evening. Wednesday evening, the 8th. So I spent the night in ICU that night, and then the 9th, they moved me to a regular room. Alright? Everything was going good at that point. I had not coughed up any more blood. I did have a little bit of heart rate problem, which they put me on medication. My heart rate went up a little bit, but they put me on medication to get that down. And then things were going smooth. Everything's going great. But it changed everything. Now, instead of treatment during, treatment while I was on blood thinners, and then surgery, radiation and chemo, and while I was on blood thinners and then surgery, they were afraid that if I went back on blood thinners, which is taking a huge risk, I could have a stroke or a heart attack. But they thought it was a bigger risk to, to my airway. They thought if I went back on the blood thinners, here it's going to cause the whole thing to start all over again, even though they blocked off the main blood supply. So here I am. I ain't had a heart attack. I ain't had a stroke. Yay! And surgery is Monday the 27th. This is the weekend of my surgery. Keep me in your thoughts. I'm a little nervous. This is a major surgery. And the good thing is I ain't coughed up blood since then. Whatever they did worked. What a great job. I'm the first person ever to have the blood supply cut off to their lung. Period. Ever. So I'm not bragging about that. I'm glad they did it, is what I'm saying. What a great idea. Whichever one came up with it. I did meet the doctor who intubated me in the emergency room last week. I did meet him and thanked him for saving my life. But big surgery, Monday the 27th. It starts at 7:30 a.m. It'll take 3 to 4 hours for the surgery, and in which I will be in the hospital afterwards for 3 to 5 days. This is the part where I go, hey, go check out the people in my description. Just you click on read more in the description. There's a whole bunch of people down there trying to help me out. Check out my GoFundMe if you would. This costing $bazillion. I don't want to lose my motorcycle. Now my air conditioning quit in my car, and I live in Texas. It's hot, so that may have to go for that, and hopefully I can still swing my motorcycle. But go check out my GoFundMe. Instagram, Facebook is down there. All the equipment that I use. This brand new camera, it ain't an expensive camera, it's just a cheapie, but I decided to get me an actual vlogging camera, I should say, for doing vlogs. That way it's a little bit better quality. It ain't an expensive one, it's just, something a little bit better than what I had. So check out all that stuff down in the description, my GoFundMe, Instagram, Facebook, all the YouTubers that are trying to help me out with this. Check them out. Be sure to leave us a thumbs up. That helps out the algorithm, I guess, from what I understand, a lot. Be sure to leave a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers so I can get that play, the silver play button before I leave this earth. Which seems like it'll be a while. It's going slow. Appreciate the 200, hitting the 200 mark on the subs though. Keep up the good work. Spread the word. You can share this. If you share it, it'll help out my GoFundMe. It'll help out my channel. I do appreciate every single one of y'all that watches this channel. So you know how it goes. If you have served or if you're currently serving in our nation's military, if you're a firefighter, EMS, first responder, especially law enforcement, if you're on the front lines battling this pandemic, trying to keep us well and putting yourself at risk, we appreciate everything you do for us and the sacrifices you and your families have made. Ladies, flash a stranger today. Boom.